Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a part 2 to discussing the top 5 worst Wings of Fire queens. You guys left a lot of suggestions for different queens I should cover. Since I couldn't fit all of them in the last video, I decided to make a part 2. I'd recommend sticking around until the end because some of the things these queens have done are absolutely crazy. This video does contain spoilers for Darkstalker Legends and the Dangerous Gift, so please keep that in mind. Also, before I start the video, huge shout out to my patrons. Crazy Roblox Man, LordIsopod, Dragolover95, Springtail Productions, 3 Moons, and Oretrix. Thank you so much for supporting me. Links to their social medias will be in the description down below. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. Number 5 on the list would be Queen Magnificent of the Rainwings. As summed up by Kinkiju, she's just forgetful and pure lazy. When some members of her tribe went missing, she made no effort to try and find them, simply brushing off the issue. Even after having been told of the severity of what was going on and how many dragons had disappeared, Magnificent showed almost no concern. When confronted about the missing Rainwings, Magnificent literally said, "It's only a few dragons, right? 5 or 6? Her poor character really shows when she cheated in the Royal Reigning Challenge just to assure herself the throne, and refused to admit the fact, despite there being clear evidence against her. Overall, she's just a really lazy, forgetful, and selfish queen who puts her needs above anybody else's. That's just not a great combination for a dragon who's in power and has to take care of an entire tribe. Coming in at number 4 is Queen Vigilance of the Nightwings. Vigilance is a very complicated queen who let her paranoia control her. She feared not being in control, and as a result, she often let her anxiety get the best of her. She was willing to manipulate Clearsight and Darkstalker and bend them to her will, that way she could use them for whatever she desired. She showed no concern at the effects Animate magic could have on a dragon, and was only interested in how it would affect her. When Clearsight was only a dragonette, she pressured her into revealing every future she could see, taking up a lot of her time and energy. Vigilance wanted Darkstalker to cast spells and use his magic for her benefit, and easily turned on him the moment she had any suspicion he wanted her dead. Dragons feared her, and she loved the sense of power that fear brought along with it. If need be, she was willing to wipe out an entire tribe and eagerly voiced that opinion. Vigilance made terrible decisions for her tribe and let her self-centered and paranoia take over her entire life throughout her reign. Number 3 on the list is Queen Scorpion of the Sandwings. Though we don't know much about her, she ruled during the time of Jeroboam and was incredibly controlling. Because she had an animus dragon in her tribe, Scorpion became incredibly possessive of Jeroboam and had her cast spells for her benefit. She was an incredibly greedy and power-hungry dragon, and was willing to do anything in order to get what she wanted, even if it meant the deaths of others. Scorpion had plans to use Jeroboam in order to kill all of the Skywings, which is just horrible. She was mad with power and only saw Jeroboam as a dragon she could use to get more of what she wanted. From forcing her to cast spells to grant her longevity and healing, to even manipulating the Animus Sandwing, and forcing her to give her more and more power, Scorpion was an awful queen, and one the Sandwings probably didn't miss. At number 2 is Queen Lagoon of the Seawings. Lagoon is just the embodiment of horrendousness, and she's downright wicked to the core. I don't really think anybody cried over her death after she was the first one killed in the Royal Swimming Massacre. Her abusive and controlling nature of her younger brother drove him to insanity, and she often teased him about how he knew she could control him forever. Lagoon reminded Albatross of his biggest mistake daily, hanging over his head as blackmail and truly making it known that he was a monster. Not only that, but she was incredibly prejudiced towards any members of the lower class. If she thought a drag was insignificant or not worth her time, she'd either ignore or belittle them. She truly was a horrible dragon, and what she did during her lifetime is just awful. Lagoon single-handedly brought about the destruction of nearly the entire royal family due to her abuse towards Albatross, as one of the largest reasons why he lost his sanity. It truly was a tragedy to read about, and it all could have been avoided if Lagoon was a better dragon. And finally, at number 1 is Queen Diamond of the Icewings. I really feel like not many people talk about just how horrible of a queen she was during her reign. Diamond single-handedly instigated the 2,000-year feud between the Nightwings and the Icewings. Not only that, but she was hateful, ruthless, and vengeful. She forced others to obey the Icewing traditions, but was shown to easily make exceptions to her own rules, as someone to use her magic a second time to enslave Foeslayer. She was controlling of every dragon around her, especially Arctic, her animus son. She wanted to control his entire life, and was outraged when the Nightwings stole him. Diamond only cared about herself and the dignity of her tribe, and was willing to despise the entire tribe of Nightwings just because of one event. In fact, her hatred of the tribe didn't just end at her lifetime. Before she died, she enchanted the Icewing Royal Crown to make the wearer, i.e. the future queen, fear the Nightwings. It would plague her with nightmares, extreme paranoia, and twisted thoughts about the tribe. Nobody realized the truth behind the crown until 2,000 years later, when Snowfall figured out Mink wasn't acting like herself. Diamond indirectly caused the deaths of thousands of dragons, even after her death. If that's not terrible, I don't know what is. But anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!